Memorial Day Ghost Stories starts right now. Memorial Day will most likely be a memory I won't ever forget. I want to let you know that in the past, I've had a fair amount of experiences with the paranormal, and I am supposedly psychic, and I hardly imagine things unless I'm getting lost in my daydreams, which I have from time to time. My friend invited me to Palm Springs for Memorial Day. We had a sleepover the day before, but we were happy to spend more time with each other. Her parents had rented a house, which was why I was able to tag around. The last minute, the house had a strange feel to it. The door seemed like a cage with iron bars, and so we had to walk through the side of the house, go to the pool in the back, and open that door to get into the house. Everything went fine until me and my friend, who were sharing a room, were about to go to sleep. She was asleep, but I seemed wide awake. I heard something fall, and I thought it was my imagination. I thought it might be an earthquake, but I knew I would have felt it, and her parents would have noticed and come in to see if we were okay. I decided to ignore it, but this seemed to be a mistake. In the morning, when I and my friend woke up, we saw that the two lamps by our bedside were on the floor, and the cloth painting that was hung above our heads with iron was only a few inches near our heads. We decided to ignore it, but we were still wondering what it was. We even asked if there was an earthquake at the time, but her mother said that as far as she knew, there wasn't. We then made a few jokes about the lamp and painting. Things like, Denny Phantom must have come out of the TV at night and tried to kill us because we don't watch his show. I now know that this wasn't the best idea, but it was the only way for us to help us not to worry. Sometimes I began to remember the house and how it felt to be in there, and I always felt as if I wasn't alone, and I always wonder, if it's such a nice house, why rent it out unless there's something wrong with it? There has to be a reason why, whether it's to make money or a haunting. I always have questions, but I don't think I'll ever manage to figure them out by myself, or at all for that matter. Thanks for reading. Camellia Memorial Lawn. One of the things that is fun about being a ghost hunter for haunted and paranormal investigations of Northern California is that I am able to head out somewhere, meet a potential client, and listen to their ghost story. This Sunday, August 5th, 2007, I was doing exactly that. I went to the quaint town of Davis and stopped over at Calantri Austrian Pastry Cafe and waited for my potential client. Her name is Laura. Jeannie. German. She likes to be called Jeannie. Jeannie has a very bubbly personality and full of smiles. As I ate my buttered croissant and drank my vanilla bean coffee, I listened to Jeannie's stories. Jeannie feels she may be an intuitive. She picks up on things that other people don't pick up on. It appears that the paranormal may have followed her throughout her years. Jeannie is a single mother of 3 children, and when she lived in a home in Spokane, Washington in 1989, she knew the home was haunted by a small girl ghost. She would hear constant laughing or sobbing. The house was over 100 years old and carried with it a lot of history. The sobbing and laughing of a little girl would continue. Then one night, she heard somebody climbing up and down the stairwell. She heard running footsteps. She cried out for her 8-year-old daughter, thinking it might have been her daughter running up and down the stairs at this late hour in the night. When investigating, her daughter was sound asleep, and there was no one around who could have caused the sound of running feet. Later on, Jeannie discovers buried correspondence underneath some dirt, underneath the outdoor steps. She went over the letters. She read on how two families were corresponding with each other, and in the letters they were inquiring on the health of a little girl that had consumption, an old word for tuberculosis. She moved from Spokane to a home in Bitika. She moved into an old colonial home. There was a cellar to the home, and when she entered the cellar, she felt like something was dead in the cellar. It was an overwhelming feeling. She could not stay in the cellar too long. The cellar door would open by itself on a regular basis. One night, she heard a woman's voice crying out to her, "Jeannie, Jeannie." This was enough for Jeannie. She now lives in Davis and has not witnessed any paranormal activity in her new residence. On this night, paranormal investigators Jennifer Becca came over, and we set our goals in investigating 3 locations. First off, the East Lawn Elk Grove mortuary off of East Stockton Boulevard. And finally, the abandoned ice crystal factory between the 15th and 16th Street. We brought along another ghost hunter. His name is Pika, a Jack Russell Terrier that belongs to me. When we arrived at East Lawn Elk Grove mortuary, we stopped by my mother's, Rose Marie Roberts' grave, and I gave my respects. I also stopped over at my stepmother's parents' gravesite along with the Huff's gravesite to give my respects. After my silent prayers, we started our ghost hunting. What is unusual about the cemetery is that there are turkeys wandering around the grounds, and Pika had a field day chasing them. There was no unusual activity at this cemetery, and we headed over to the Camellia Memorial Lawn. This is when things became strange. While we took photos and turned on our digital audio recorder, we started hearing voices and whistles. In one location of the cemetery, I heard a stink man's whistle. He was whistling a tune. It lasted for no more than 5 seconds. Jennifer didn't hear the whistle. Jennifer and I both heard a woman's laughter. Then we both heard what sounded like 2 children talking. The closest homes were 1 mile away. There was wind, so could voices have been carried for a mile to our location where we could actually hear the voices as if they were no more than 20 to 50 feet away from us? The woman's laughter sounded like it was no more than 20 feet away, in the opposite direction of the 2 houses that were a mile down the road. Was this truly a whistling Wraith? There was a point of time that Pika seemed to focus on an area near a tree as if he sensed something. I checked to see if there were any animals in the tree, and there weren't any. But he kept looking at one area of the tree as if there was something there that only he could see. He finally got distracted to chase a couple of rabbits and 1 cat. Another time, I heard 2 loud knocks on a tree, and I cannot determine what caused the 2 knocks. This was a very strange cemetery. Our last destination was the abandoned ice crystal factory. I was told it was once a fruit packing plant, but the sign says ice crystal, so I'm not entirely sure. This factory has been abandoned since the 1970s, and I was told that 2 men that worked there were killed by the factory machinery. The story I was told was that the 2 factory workers were taunted by the other factory workers because of their deformities. One of them, that was nicknamed Charlie Crooked Teeth, had crooked teeth. The other factory worker, nicknamed Jimmy One Eye, had only 1 good eye. Charlie Crooked Teeth and Jimmy One Eye became very close friends. I do not know exactly the kind of machinery they were both working with, but the story goes that an accident occurred and they were both killed by the machinery. Other stories said that they were set up and the machinery was sabotaged. This led to their deaths. Supposedly, Charlie Crooked Teeth and Jimmy One Eye haunt this factory. As we took digital photographs, we got some interesting orb pictures. Took a picture in an opening of a window and got 13 orbs in one photo. In the next shot, there was no orbs. Jennifer took a picture at the location where my car was parked at and got some orbs shot near my car. I would like to do a further investigation of the Ice Crystal Factory and Camellia Memorial Lawn. Both places seem to have some exceptional activity. Could the restless spirits of Jimmy One Eye and Crooked Charlie Teeth still haunt this abandoned factory? Are they trying to find why they died sudden deaths? Could they be the orbs that seem to have followed Jennifer and I around the factory and later seen by my car? If so, Jimmy One Eye and Charlie Crooked Teeth, may you both rest in peace.